Well, it was a McLaren-Mercedes day in the end. Lando Norris putting a wonderful full stop at the end of the year for his team from the pole, winning the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, making it look relatively easy. Pressure for most of the race from Carlos Sainz's Ferrari, but whenever it came to traffic, whenever it came to just needing to pull out a little bit of a gap, Lando always had margin. Drove superbly, no mistakes, just really, really good. It was nail-biting though for the McLaren team on the pit wall, because at the first corner, Oscar Piastri was basically eliminated from the proceedings in a collision with Max Verstappen. Max, quite correctly I think, got the penalty here, 10 seconds. It was definitely Max that caused the incident, but let's just talk it through, because he made a great start. He went down the inside. Oscar left a bit of a gap going into turn one, I guess assuming that Max wasn't going to try anything, but Max did, and he was safely down the inside Oscar Piastri, effectively looking at second place, but then started to run a little bit wide from the curb apex, as he would, as they do, hit Oscar. They both pirouetted. Lovely 360 by Max, kept going in the midfield. Oscar was out in the boonies on the outside, rejoined at the back of the field, and then got a 10-second penalty of his own for running into the back of Franco Colapinto when he was trying to scythe his way through the field, making up for that. I say making up for that because although Max got the penalty, there is a little bit of a thing here again about the McLaren pit wall, because the role that Oscar had to play today, quite clearly, in my view, was to support Lando Norris, who was on the pole, make sure he didn't get anywhere near Lando going into the first corner. And then above all, not to be hit by anybody else in case he was needed to back up anything that Lando was not able to do. He needed to be right at the front of this race. And there was no point actually enforcing the issue with Max Verstappen once he saw Max down the inside. In my view, a Niki Lauda type response would have been ease the steering, give Max room, settle into third place behind Max, and then we'll see what happens as the race develops. Even if he'd finished third, it would have been a nice belt and braces result for McLaren-Mercedes. As it was, he was at the back, and for a while it was just Lando out in front. And of course, if Lando had a problem, Ferrari would have won the championship, because they were running effectively 1-2 if Lando had had a problem. They finished second and third. Charles Leclerc, great drive up from the back of the grid to finish third. Anyway, big hats off and congratulations to McLaren-Mercedes for that Constructors Championship. A superb win for them, a superb result really when you think of where they were even at the start of the year, let alone where they were 2 years ago at the beginning of this category in Formula One, this aero package in Formula One. And yeah, great performance. Again, and I got to say it, I still think Lando should have been nearer Max in the closing stages of the championship had they managed things differently. He had a great car for the second half of the year, virtually every weekend. And it was kind of a shame for the championship and for Formula One that it was decided as early, the Drivers' Championship that is, by Vegas. But it was certainly great to have the constructors going through to Abu Dhabi. Ferrari did a very good job today. Carlos Sainz finished second. He was pretty near Lando after the pit stops from mediums to hards. He was within 2 seconds of Lando. It was never a moment when McLaren can say, yeah, we got this race sewn up. Carlos was there. But as I say, Lando was able to eke out an advantage whenever he really needed to, even though he lost fastest lap to Kevin Magnussen, who was on soft tyres, 2 sets of soft tyres, and went ridiculously quick to take the fastest lap away from McLaren. I wonder with the Ferrari engine in the back of the house, that was another thing that should have been talked about before the race. I guess it probably was, but not much they could do about it, of course. But then when the traffic came later in the race and it looked as if Carlos maybe went over a bit of debris, particularly sector 3 where there are lots of corners, slow, medium speed corners, he started to lose 3-4 tenths a lap just on that sector. He got it back again towards the end of the race when Lando was driving with margin, but that was a telling moment of the race, I think. And indeed, when McLaren were able to get on the radio to Lando and say, look, if we want to bring you in for a new set of tyres at the end, do you still think you can be able to do it? And of course, the answer was yes. And they were just thinking maybe we might need fastest lap or something like that, I guess. So yeah, great win for Lando Norris. And it was interesting, wasn't it, at the end, that it was Lando Norris and Carlos Sainz. Here am I, I've been banging on about short corners and going in early on the brakes and shortening the corner the way Max does, the way Lewis does, the way Charles Leclerc does, and the way Oscar occasionally does these days. But it was the two longer corner drivers, Lando Norris and Carlos Sainz, within the sphere of the teams in which they drive, relative to their teammate, I guess you could say, who finished first and second in this last Grand Prix of 2024. And there was a bit of an ending with music for Mercedes as well, for Lewis Hamilton in particular, because he finished fourth, passing George Russell on the last lap of the race. I mean, this was, I guess there's an irony there, I think, back to 21 and how he got passed by Max on the last lap, but I don't think there's any parallel there really. On this occasion, Lewis was on the medium tyre, he started on the hard, he was on the medium, the only one out on the mediums at the back end of the race, and George was on the hard tyre, so Lewis had the big advantage. But he did pull back 16, 17 seconds on his teammate and got him on that last lap. I don't know whether George kind of thought, yeah, it'd be kind of nice to let Lewis beat me in this last race or not. And Lewis was really good. He wasn't far away from setting fastest lap, apart from the Kevin Magnussen soft tyre thing. And that will do a bit more for his confidence than where he was on Saturday night when he was very lost in that car. On the hard tyre at the start of the race, he was struggling again. I have no pace. It's kind of, in inverted commas, quote from Lewis Hamilton. It was kind of his catchphrase for the entire year, really, but that's what he was saying at the beginning of this first phase of the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. But he was comfortable and he had grip and he had balance in the back end of the race, and for sure he would have enjoyed catching George and passing George and taking that P4. Not that P4 means very much, of course, but the two Mercedes finishing nose to tail as they crossed the line in P4, P5. George Russell in fifth place, ahead of Max Verstappen, who of course served his 10-second penalty before the pit stop in the pit lane, and who finished sixth, drove well through the field, finished sixth. Pretty quick when he was in free air, would have been up there second or third, probably would not have beaten Lando in this race in a straight fight, but certainly would have been probably ahead of Carlos Sainz, I think. Anyway, he was sixth for Red Bull. And seventh, really good, Pierre Gasly in the Alpine Renault. Made it very difficult for George Russell in the early stages to get past, and was consistently quick throughout the race. Excellent result for Pierre. Great way for him to finish the year with that team. We've had that fabulous result from Brazil, but ever since then, the team has looked very strong and getting better all the time in terms of having a sweet spot with the car that works in all different conditions on different types of circuits. Really, really good. Nico Hülkenberg, eighth in the Haas Ferrari. Few dramas, but great to see him in the points again. Great for that team to be in the points again. What a season they have had. Ahead of Fernando Alonso in the Aston Martin. Disappointing last 2/3 of the season for Aston Martin, but Fernando driving well still and in the top 10. And finally, Oscar Piastri worked his way up to P10 to get that last point. So there we are, a great win for Lando Norris in the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, specifically for him as an individual. A great win for McLaren in the Constructors Championship, a deserved win for McLaren in the Constructors Championship, you've got to say that. Ferrari P2 in the Constructors table at the end, but a great drive by Carlos Sainz. In many ways, that's probably the most poignant result, I think, of the day. Here's Carlos Sainz putting in another copybook drive for Ferrari, his last race for the Scuderia before he has to go to Williams. I say has to because by rights he should be in that car for 2025 and beyond because he's done a fabulous job, but that's not the way things are. Ferrari have decided to replace him with Sir Lewis Hamilton, and that will be, of course, a massive thing for Formula One, a massive thing here in Italy. It was quite interesting. As you probably know, I've been filming all three videos here from Monza, where I've been present at the Pirelli Monza Rally Show. Pirelli's signing off from the World Rally Championship. But what an atmosphere here today. The crowd, packed grandstands here as they were doing the runoffs between Terry Newell and Sébastien Ogier and Adrian Formeau. Really, really impressive to watch. Lovely to watch handbrake turns and slides and four-wheel drifts. As a counterpoint to Formula One, but nonetheless watching Formula One. And the point I'm making is here at Monza, lots and lots of rally fans watching the Grand Prix, of course, cheering for Ferrari, living on every moment of what was going on with Carlos Sainz and Charles Leclerc, and cheering every time there was a pass. Yeah, it's quite good to be here to watch all that. But as I say, a sad moment, I think, for the Carlos Sainz fans, because he's done a great job at Ferrari and he's leaving the team. But here, I cannot imagine what it's going to be like when Lewis Hamilton is here next year at Monza in the red overalls, driving for Ferrari. And I wonder where we will be then. I wonder what state the championship will be in, whether Red Bull again are leading the championship, whether McLaren now are on a roll and they'll continue all the way with that momentum into 2025, through to the end of 25, whether Ferrari will start to win some serious races. What will be happening? Where will Carlos Sainz be in the Williams? Another question, of course. So many unanswered questions. A bit of testing coming up in Abu Dhabi, but of course the real testing for 2025 begins in the new year in Bahrain. So it's been wonderful to be here. It's been a great 24 Formula One season, I think. As Mario Isola said yesterday in our interview, or on Friday actually, the first part, it's been a great year for Formula One in terms of unexpected results, in terms of tension on the pit wall, tension on the racetrack, and surprising results, and a number of teams all finding a sweet spot that perhaps they can't replicate, but nonetheless that is making it very interesting in Formula One. In theory, I think in 25, more teams will find that bigger sweet spot, and it will be even more competitive than ever. That's the theory of it, but it may not be that way, of course. Well, that is the beauty of Formula One. So I sign off now by saying a big thank you to you, the viewer, for watching and supporting this channel. Obviously to my partners here, to Jetcraft, to OEM Exclusive, and to TrackNinja, all of whom have made this channel possible. We're not going away. Between now and the start of next year, we'll be doing a lot more live streams, we'll be doing some special videos, and don't forget we're out now on an audio platform as well, and you can listen to us in a variety of different forms. So big thanks to everyone, and have a great winter. We'll be back again very soon, but in the meantime, take care.